At the Top of the World by Paul May. Introduction. In May 1953, two men reached the top of Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world. One of the men was called Tenzing Norgay. He came from a tiny village in Nepal at the very foot of the mountain. This is Tenzing's story. This was the journey that Tenzing made. Chapter 1. Tenzing's Dream. Tenzing Norgay was a Sherpa boy. From his village he could see a tall mountain. He dreamed of climbing to the very top. I could see the whole world from there, he thought. Tenzing asked his mother about the mountain. The mountain is called Komolungma, she told him. It is so high that even the birds cannot fly over it. But maybe I could climb it one day, said Tenzing. Maybe, laughed his mother. One day men came from a faraway country called Britain. We want to climb Mount Everest, they said, the mountain you call Komolungma. We want Sherpas to help us. I'll go with you, said Tenzing. But his mother laughed. You are far too small, she said.
Questions. 1. What was Tenzing's dream when he was a little boy? Example answer. His dream when he was a boy was to climb Mount Everest. 2. Why did his mother laugh when he talked about his dream? Example answer. His mother laughed because she thought it was an impossible dream. No one had ever climbed the mountain before.
Chapter 2. Running Away. Again and again men tried to reach the top of Komolungma. Many climbers died in the ice and snow. When Tenzing was older, he said, I know I can climb the mountain. You are mad, said his mother. I won't let you go. So Tenzing ran away from home. When Tenzing arrived at the climbers' camp, he cut his hair and borrowed some clothes. You look strong, the climbers said. We will give you a job. The men gave Tenzing strange clothes to wear. He ate strange food out of tin cans, but he was happy. He was going to Komolungma at last.
Questions. 1. Why did he run away from home when he was older? Example answer. He ran away because he wanted to climb the mountain, but his mother didn't want him to go. 2. He got a job at the climbers' camp. What job was that? Example answer. Tenzing worked as a Sherpa guide for the climbers, helping them carry their supplies.
Chapter 3. Komolungma. The climbers walked for 100 miles. They climbed up and up through the snow, but then they stopped. Komolungma was still above them, touching the sky. I want to go higher, said Tenzing. Not this year, said the climbers, but we will come back. Many years later, climbers came from Switzerland. They found a new way to get to Komolungma. Tenzing climbed with one of them. The two men climbed very high. The air was thin, and it was hard to breathe. They had no food or water left. Outside, the wind roared like 1,000 tigers. The men stayed awake all night and shivered. The next day they tried to climb higher. They could almost see the top, but they were cold and very tired. We must turn back, they said, or we will die.
Questions. 1. Tenzing worked as a Sherpa guide but he had not reached his goal. What was his goal? Example answer. His goal was to climb Mount Everest and to stand on the top. 2. Please talk about the working conditions he faced on the mountain. Example answer. High on the mountain, it was extremely cold and windy. It was very hard to breathe, and climbing was difficult and tiring. It was a dangerous job.
Chapter 4. To the mountain again. Tenzing was exhausted. He had to go to hospital. But then a letter came from Britain. "Please climb with us again," it said. "You are too weak to go," said Tenzing's wife. "You will die." "I would rather die on Komolungma than lie here in this bed," Tenzing replied. 10th March 1953. Tenzing went to meet the climbers and other Sherpas. They set off carrying heavy loads across hills, valleys, and rushing rivers. 26th March. At last, the climbers came to a monastery high in the mountains. The lamas gave them tea made with butter and salt. "The goddess Mio Sanglangma lives on Komolungma," the lamas said. "We will ask her to let you climb the mountain." The monastery in the mountains.
Finally, he could work with the British team again. On the way to Mount Everest, they came to a monastery. Please explain the experience there. Example answer. At the monastery, the lamas gave the climbers some special tea. They also asked the mountain goddess to allow them to climb the mountain.
Chapter 5. Crumbling Towers of Ice. 23rd April. The climbers walked on and set up camp. They looked for a way between the crumbling towers of ice. Deep cracks opened under their feet. All the climbers were scared. Tenzing was climbing with a man called Edmund Hillary. Suddenly Hillary cried out, "Tenzing!" Hillary was sliding into a crack, but Tenzing was ready. Tenzing tied a rope around his ice axe, and he held on to the rope. He had saved Hillary's life. After that day, Tenzing and Hillary always climbed together, crossing a dangerous crack in the ice.
Question. Why did Hillary always want to climb with Tenzing, according to the book? Example answer. According to the book, one reason that Hillary wanted to climb with Tenzing is because Tenzing saved his life. He felt safe having him as his climbing partner.
Chapter 6. Shall we go on? 27th May. Tenzing and Hillary climbed so high that they could see for 100 miles. They put up their tent on a narrow ledge. Early the next morning, they started to climb a snow cliff. Hillary slipped, and then Tenzing slipped too. They were both scared. If they fell, they would die. "Shall we go on?" asked Hillary. Tenzing looked up. All his life he had dreamed of climbing Komolungma. "I will go on if you will," he said. So Hillary began to climb again.
Question. Tenzing and Hillary were very scared on the snow cliff. They felt the fear of death very seriously, but they didn't give up. Do you know why? Example answer. Tenzing and Hillary were very scared, but they would not give up because they didn't want to miss the chance to make their dream come true. Also, they knew the other wanted to continue.
Chapter 7. Into the Sky. At last they reached the top of the cliff. More rock and snow towered above them. The way was narrow, and steep slopes fell away on both sides. They walked slowly, up and up, into the sky. Tenzing and Hilary stopped. Now there was a wall of icy rock above them. "I can see a way," Hilary said. They climbed over the rock and fell on the ground. They could hardly breathe. "Look," said Hilary. Up ahead was a gentle slope of snow. They began to walk, and suddenly— 28th May, 11:30 a.m. All around them there was nothing but air. They had done it. Tenzing hugged Hilary. He looked down and saw his village miles below. "Thank you, Mio Sanglangma," he said to the goddess of the mountain. Then he buried sweets in the snow for her. Tenzing's dream had come true at last. He had climbed Komolungma, the highest mountain in the world. Hilary took a photo of Tenzing. Tenzing and Hilary were given medals.
Question. Their dream had come true finally. They reached the top of the highest mountain in the world for the first time in human history. What did they do on the top? Example answer. On the top of the mountain, Tenzing and Hilary hugged each other. They thanked the goddess of the mountain. Tenzing buried sweets in the snow for her.
Glossary. Komolungma, the name which Sherpas give to Mount Everest. Lama, a name for a holy man or monk. Mio Sanglangma, a goddess who the Lamas believe lives on Komolungma. Monastery, a building where monks or Lamas live. Sherpa, a group of people who live in a country called Nepal. Many Sherpas live near Mount Everest.